In today's video, I want to talk to wholesalers, deal finders, and definitely investors about 3 things you must do before you make an offer. 3 things you must do before you make an offer. Now, I'm going to get into these 3 things. I'm going to break it down to share some very important aspects of these 3 with you. But before I do, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube page. We just crossed over 13,000 subscribers. We're looking to get to 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 100 million. But your subscription is appreciated. If you've already subscribed to our YouTube page, I want to say thank you. Make sure your notification bell is on so that as we drop new content about real estate, investing, wealth building, and all the things that I talk about on this channel, you'll be the first notified. Now, with that being said, 3 things you must understand before you make an offer. Again, you could be a wholesaler, you could be just a deal finder, a bird dog, or maybe you are a real estate investor. You're the end buyer like me. Either way, there's some things that you need to understand. It's a must understand before you make an offer. Now, one of the reasons why I am sharing this video today, and I got inspired to share this because this past week, we had a lot of activity, meaning that our pipeline was full. We talked to a lot of sellers. We made a couple offers, and we could have gone under contract after the offer was accepted. But because I understand certain things, I did not move forward after the offer was made, because after we made the offer, we gathered a little bit of more information once they at least showed the sign that they would accept it. And once I gathered more information, I knew based on my understanding that it would not be a deal for me. Now, let's get into these 3 things that you must understand. Number 1, you must understand your COA and COD. What is COA and COD? COA is cost of acquisition. I need to understand what my cost of acquisition are, okay? Because there are certain costs of cash that you're going to have to acquire the property, and there's probably going to be cost of debt depending on how you're taking the debt. If it's a conventional investment where you're acquiring the property and you're getting a loan, that's still a part of the cost of acquisition. Okay, there's going to be cash that you got to put up, down payment, and there's going to be, if it's creative, you may even be taking over an existing payment, but you still have to bring cash, whether you're getting it from a private money lender or a partner. So you want to understand your cost of acquisition. COD is cost of disposition. So one of the things that I talk to my students and clients about, and I live by this, is I want to be clear on what is it going to cost me to enter into the deal and what is it going to cost me to exit the deal. A lot of sophisticated real estate investors will tell you that it's extremely important for you to know your exit even before your entry, okay? You have to understand this, because if you're making somewhat of a blind offer, it's okay for certain aspects to be blind. Like, I've made offers without a thorough inspection of the property. I've made offers without having certain numbers verified. But I also padded those numbers in a way that if something came up that I didn't know, a certain lien that I wasn't clear on, or I got an inspection and find out there was something going on with the HVAC, I'm going to make sure those numbers are padded in a way that I can make that up, because I'm going to be very, very, I could say I'm going to be very pessimistic and conservative in my underwriting. Because when you're gathering the data to know what your cost of acquisition and your cost of disposition is, you are essentially underwriting the deal, okay? But you must understand what your costs are. Don't make offers just because you thirsty and you desperate to get a deal. I've seen so many people do that. As a matter of fact, we had 5 main conversations this week with people who were interested in selling us their properties, okay? Out of those 5, 3 we made offers on, and 2 accepted those offers. Like 2 were like, yeah, you could take it if we meet this agreement, right? But here's the thing. One of them was an actual investor. And one of them was telling me like how they acquired the property and how things went left and they found themselves over leveraged and over their head. I'm thinking, why would you have even bought that property in the first place? You bought it too high. You understand what I mean? Because they made offers and they actually bought that property and they didn't understand their cost of acquisition, their cost of disposition. That's number one. Second thing you need to understand is your local market. This one property that I'm talking about this week that I was like, absolutely not. They would have literally gave you the property, but they didn't understand their local market, or at least they thought they did, but they didn't, because there ain't no way in this world I would have paid that much for a property in that local market. And so now they pay more, just in this example that I'm giving you, this one property, they're paying more in their mortgage than someone can pay in rent, number one, so they can't rent it. And their local market has been hit so hard. It's a rural area. It's not a lot of activity going on in the area. And they bought it at the top of the market back in 2022. They bought it at the top with a high interest rate. And they're over leveraged. The property is like worth $50,000 less than what they bought it for. So they're over leveraged and they can't rent it. And they couldn't even get through with a deed in lieu of foreclosure. They couldn't do a short sale. They're in trouble. But my point is they didn't understand this, and they definitely didn't understand that. You need to understand your local market. I'm going to do another video about where the market is today, particularly in Metro Atlanta, because a lot of properties that we're coming across and making offers on are properties that have been hit so hard, but this is local. So for example, we have a deal we're working on right now on one side of town in Metro Atlanta. The market is pretty strong. There are some recent sales that support what we want to list this fix and flip for, and we believe strongly that we're going to get our number. Okay, but there's another property we're looking at acquiring that is on another side of town in Metro Atlanta. If you know Atlanta, you know how each town can be different, right? Okay, well, this particular subdivision and the subdivisions around this subdivision have taken such a hit, but it's local, that at least 30 to 40% of the value of this property 2 years ago is gone. So what they could have sold this property for 2 years ago, today, they would have to take a 30 to 40% haircut just to sell it, and they still can't sell it. They've been trying to sell it. So I'm making it very clear to you that you need to understand your local market. Just because somebody says, oh, the market is hot, but where? It may be hot here, but it ain't hot there. Number three, understand your risk tolerance, okay? I just mentioned this deal that we're doing. It's a fix and flip. Now, my risk tolerance is kind of high, but this one had so much, we call it hair, with so much hair on it. It was sticky, it was dirty, it was a whole lot of, it was just everything that I thought could go wrong went wrong. Everything I didn't think could go wrong started going wrong. But my risk tolerance was pretty high, and it still stressed me out. And when I say risk tolerance, I'm not just talking about the problems with funding, or if you got a private money lender, or if it's a creative deal, or you're dealing with some distress, or the seller is tripping, or somebody on your team didn't do their due diligence. It could also be your risk tolerance on what happens if the property sits. Can you tolerate paying that payment for the next 8 months or 6 months until the market shifts? So all I'm saying to you is, if you're a deal finder, wholesaler, bird dog, real estate investor, or you work with somebody who does those things, before you make an offer, and of course you can make offers and just back out and just walk away, but don't waste your time. You need to build the muscle and the skill set to understand what your cost of acquisition, your cost of disposition is, to understand your local market more than ever now, and to understand your risk tolerance, to make sure that you are pursuing deals that match your risk tolerance, not just your buy box or your investment criteria. I talk to investors all the time. I was just at a networking event last night, and everybody and their uncle in there, my buy box is this. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that in these areas, whatever. You're not even clear on your local market. You're not clear on your risk tolerance. Certain things you ain't even built for, but you haven't cleared this up. So before you make an offer, understand these three things, and it'll help you tremendously. At the very least, it'll save you a lot of stress, time, and hopefully it'll save you a lot of money. I'll see you in the next video.